Well, let's just do my intros are short and sweet. So
Okay.
let's
All right.
let's just do it off the cuff, right?
Yeah.
All right. Hi everyone, wake 'em. There we go. Have you ever done a bloopers show?
Yes. I show bloopers at the end of some of my videos.
I've been swearing for years now. I gotta have a show where I gotta save all the little marks of my bloopers to just have a blooper show.
I was trying to say one line, and it took me 6 times before I got the
Yeah.
words right.
Yeah.
And it just got worse and worse. To
Absolutely.
the point where I couldn't talk anymore.
Yeah. And when you're saying your own show and your own name or something, and it's like, oh my gosh, how do you make a mistake 6
it's
times
like
in a row?
Talk, just speak English.
Speak. All right.
I
Okay,
think,
we'll
I
try
think
it
it's
again.
because you're talking and trying to think of what to say at the same time. And
yeah.
men can't do 2 things
Men-
at once.
I've been told that, but we won't get into that. Here we go. All right. Welcome to Dave's I don't say welcome. Hey everyone, welcome. A mosquito flew right in front of the lens. I wonder if I could slow that down and get that in there. Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, I am back in the Bonsai Zone with...
Nigel Saunders.
That's right, we'll be right back. Welcome everyone to not the PSGF, but just outside this magnificent greenhouse where I am sitting with the one, the only Nigel Saunders. And before I ask any questions or talk about anything, thanks for this afternoon.
Oh, you're very welcome, and it was great having you down again, Dave, after 2 years of absence.
Yeah, we had some people here from the KW Bonsai Club, right? And
yeah, we had a good group here, and
yeah.
we had hot tea and
good conversation.
It was rainy, and then the sun's out now.
Now we got some sun to do our little stuff, and the ducks.
Oh, watch this. You're so cute. You're so cute. Tiny
If only they stayed that size.
So I'm thinking of maybe I call this the glass greenhouse, so GGH.
GG.
You've got the
PSGF and the GGH.
PSGF, yeah, and GGH maybe.
And I thought PSGF would be impossible to memorize and say fluidly, but now after all that build
It's
and all
just
those,
normal.
it just comes right out of my
yeah.
mouth like normal now. So the what'd you just say?
GGH, glass greenhouse.
Glass greenhouse in the Bonsai Zone. I think we'll stick with the Bonsai
Although
Zone.
I don't know if greenhouse is one word
One
or
word.
2 words,
See,
so
there you
maybe
go.
it's just the GG.
GG.
GG, I don't know.
GG. And let's go right into that though. Again, thanks for having me here and everybody here. This is fantastic. And there's a lot of talk, or we even talked as a casual group early about, how people learn about bonsai. So, you've got the books and you've got the YouTube and you've got people. And I don't think anything can replicate what we just did today.
Hi everyone, this is Dave from Dave's Bonsai, and I'm in the Bonsai Zone. Hey, what's going on here? Hey everyone.
Or am I in Dave's Bonsai?
Woo. We need some special effects. That can be done in post, right?
Bonsai.
Blue Jay Bonsai and the crew. Hi everyone.
Well, thanks everyone for coming, and it's great to see you again, Dave. It's been 2 years, right?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll be back in 2.
When
Right.
you're with people who are passionate about this hobby, wasn't this just phenomenal? Just talk bonsai.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And you get small tips here and there. People talk about the same species of tree and
Yeah.
what problems they have.
Right.
And you kind of, I don't know, it's how your brain picks up things naturally, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, reading a book is, you don't remember that stuff. It not easily.
I don't. Yeah.
No, I don't either.
easily either.
I mean, it helps. I think some of Peter Chan's books,
Yeah.
I almost have memorized.
Good stuff. There's great stuff out there for
Yeah,
sure, right?
yeah.
And some of us learn better by doing, by watching,
Yeah.
and again by talking with persons who been with that tree and explain it to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like experience and hearing other people's experiences
Yeah.
to kind of
For sure.
figure out what to do.
Your greenhouse, Gigi.
Yeah.
This is your third full growing season.
Yeah.
Or third full year of having a greenhouse. Are there some nuggets you found here in year 3, or just now in the course of 3 years? Like, what's good and challenging about your greenhouse? I'd like to learn some of those little tidbits.
I would say works really well. It's excellent in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get a lot of sun. I get maybe, because the sun's so low on the horizon,
Yeah.
that I maybe on a sunny winter's day I'll get 2 hours sun at the most.
Okay.
And even though the air temperature will heat up to like room temperature, the pots don't. They stay cold. So I don't really have to worry about them
Waking up too soon, or
No.
dormancy. Yeah.
There are some that do wake up early, like
Yeah.
my Amber maple was the first to come into leaf, and it did that in February,
Wow.
which is really early. So
Yeah.
this year I'm not keeping it in the glass greenhouse. It's
Okay.
getting kicked out in the cold.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, I had Larch opening up
did you?
Larch in March. I
Yeah.
mean, as soon as March 1st hit and I stopped keeping it cooler in there,
Yeah.
it just exploded with growth.
Which,
Growth.
if they do leaf out early, if you have a greenhouse, you can avoid those frosts.
Yep.
So if you do get those fresh leaves in the middle of winter, you can keep them alive. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
if it's outside and it leaves out early and you get a hard frost, then it just kills all that new growth. So,
Yeah.
so having a greenhouse, even though they leaf out early, isn't the worst thing in the world.
For
you
sure.
can heat it. You can
Yeah.
keep all those shoots tender until the tree could actually go out
Yeah.
onto the bench.
And in those shoulder seasons, you really can, add just a little bit of supplement of heat or a little bit of, covering things up if you need to, or opening the doors and just to make it cooler
Yeah.
or warmer, right? And it's pretty easy to do for your
And
greenhouse.
As Matt was talking about his greenhouse today, he said it's not keeping them warm, it's keeping them cool is the biggest problem.
The challenge, yeah.
And I find that too.
Yeah.
I have a sunshade for this greenhouse,
Mm-hmm.
and I still haven't got it up yet. And it's because my greenhouse is never empty. As soon as the tropicals leave the greenhouse, all the temperates go
I'm
in.
going- yeah.
And it's just always full. And
Yeah.
I did clean the greenhouse, all the glass this year.
Yeah.
And I cleaned it all out, and I should have done it then, but I didn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't hot that day, so I didn't need it.
Didn't need it, yeah.
So, yeah, that would help a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I've done with the PSGF. I learned real quickly all the glass I put in my PSGF was too much. So for a
Yes.
deep winter greenhouse, the north facing, no
Yeah.
windows. East and west, very little, if any, windows. Maybe on the east side, but you don't need them on the west side, so
No.
you don't get that late sun. So mine looks pretty and it's aesthetically pleasing for my wife and anybody who future buys it. So, oh, look at that pretty greenhouse. But for functionality, I definitely would not put anything on the west wall again. And so, I mean, I
Right.
learned that, and and I'm still maintaining.
Because you're blocking off some of the windows. with
Absolutely.
foam,
So
right?
I'm blocking off with foam. And
Yeah.
so the big windows in the front of mine, I have to cover half of those up, or I'm getting too hot, like we said, hard
Yeah.
to keep it cool in certain times of the year. We discussed earlier with the group here, we talked about, someone mentioned about the bonsai shuffle.
Yeah.
Has this eliminated or created almost another little twist to the bonsai shuffle having the greenhouse? Has it helped or hurt you with?
It's definitely helped.
Yeah.
I used to have to haul, if there's a chance of frost, and I had my tropical trees out on the benches,
Yeah.
I would have to haul each one individually into the plant room in the house, which is, it's not really far away, but
But it's a
it's like
pain.
your yard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, by the time you do 30, 40 trees,
Yeah.
it does become a long way and they become heavy.
It does.
And then, after the frost, you bring them all back out, and then 2 days later, you might get another frost.
Yeah.
And it was a real pain in the neck.
Yeah.
And I didn't like doing it. And now, all my benches are right around the greenhouse, and I've got the poly house.
Yeah.
I just have to move them from the bench into
Yeah.
the greenhouse. It's like
Much more manageable.
10 steps.
Yeah.
And I can fill the
Fantastic.
floor of the greenhouse,
Yeah.
so I can pack a lot of trees in there.
Yeah.
And when the danger of and I can heat it.
Right. Right.
If
You've got
it's
some
going to
subsequent
go,
heat if you need to.
it's not just frost. Like some nights you'll go down, quite a few degrees below freezing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You need some heat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all that
You
new
run that
growth
risk.
can just
Yeah.
go.
Absolutely.
You can lose flower buds, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so that's made my life a lot easier having this greenhouse.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
my plant room used to be my winter workshop where I do projects in there.
Yeah.
And I still would use it, except it's
You can't
full.
get in there.
It's full. It's ridiculous. But it's so now this is I'm out here every day in winter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what temperature.
Yeah.
I'm out here and I enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
like,
And that's where my greenhouse, I jokingly said, if I had one more foot of
Yeah.
of space, I'd be out there so much more in the winter too.
Yeah.
But and I told someone, off camera, and we're just talking randomly about stuff. us filming all the time, if I wasn't filming in the PSGF, I've got room to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes filming, trying to get the right angle, and trying to have my shoulder in every shot. Dave, get your shoulder out of the shot.
I know.
That's where that extra foot would have been maybe more beneficial for me.
Yes.
But if I have the cameras off and I'm just working in there, it's heaven.
Yeah.
And it's so great to be out there every day if you need to be.
It is.
We talked about having a tough time keeping it cool, so that also applies in the summertime. How hot are you getting in the summer, and how are you keeping it cool when you need to?
I have the automatic vents that open on the roof, which
Yeah.
helps. I have a solar-powered fan that Tom from the YouTube channel Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors sent me.
Hey, Tom.
Shout out to Tom. And they work really well. When the sun's out, when you need the cooling, they
Yeah.
come on automatically,
Yeah.
and they blast. They're like jet engines. They just circulate the air.
So nice.
And I also have a desk fan
Yeah.
that I open the door of the greenhouse. I have the fan blowing air from outside into the greenhouse, and it moves a lot of air.
Yeah.
But it still gets warm. I get up to, on a hot day outside, when it's stinking hot outside,
Yeah.
it's even hotter in the greenhouse. It'll be like close to 30, in Celsius, 30 degrees Celsius,
Yeah.
it'll be 40 degrees in the greenhouse, 10 degrees hotter.
10 degrees hot. Yeah.
So if it's like...
Which 40 is approaching? Is it approaching
that's
100?
109 maybe, or 108 or somewhere around there maybe.
So I hit that today.
Yeah.
And I have my alarms going off 3 times a day just for me to check my PSGF.
Yeah.
And when I checked at the 4 o'clock time period, which is, okay, we have had peak sun for the day, and it's not even that hot in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But when I checked my PSGF remotely, it was 107.
Yeah.
And so then I made sure the fans were on, which they already were. Or, no, they weren't on at that time, or maybe they were. But then I also missed it a little bit. And just that
Misting
ability to have
helps.
instant 10 degrees cooler within a minute or two of misting in it,
Yeah.
it has helped a lot.
I find most plants, as long as you have humidity in the air, they can handle the high temperatures. It's if you have a dry heat
Yeah.
that they can just fail.
And how about the roots? When it's 107 in there, just a partial part of the day, some of the pots, especially if they're darker, and
I water them a lot and mist them.
yeah,
And it's dangerous. If you're not home on a hot day, hot sunny day,
yeah,
it's kind of dangerous. You have to make sure
yeah.
they stay cool somehow. If I were to forget to have the door open and the fan on,
Right.
it might cook everything.
Yeah, something to
Maybe
be
not,
careful.
but you have to be
But
careful.
you run the risk, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I
gonna
have
get
cooked
done.
one tree in my life. I had it in the poly house,
Yeah.
and I was away. It was cloudy and rainy in the morning. I went away to Toronto, and about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun came out, and it turned really hot, and it just cooked one tree in there.
Oh my gosh.
I came home, and it was all limp, and it never recovered.
Never recovered.
It was just
Ouch.
dead. So
Ouch.
heat is definitely a problem with
Yeah.
greenhouses and
Yeah.
that. But yeah, good air circulation, misting,
Yeah.
good watering, and the plants will survive quite well.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone up to, I think the highest I've gone is about 53 degrees Celsius, which has got to be up to like 100 and almost 120.
20? Oh my- yeah.
Yeah.
That's hot. That's
That's desert
wow.
hot.
That is hot.
And yeah, most of the trees have made it
Have
there.
made it.
They
That's
survive.
awesome.
So I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think plants shut down at those temperatures.
Yeah.
They just say, okay.
Well, just
we're-
like us, it's like I don't want to move. I don't want to do
Yeah.
anything. I can't expend any energy, or I'm going to be dead.
The only trees that seem to like it are ficus. If it's hot and humid outside, ficus grow like crazy. If it's miserable for a human, the ficus
Ficus
love
are
it.
loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
you go. Gee, what else about the greenhouse can I ask about? Any other nuggets that you've discovered, or things you found out in year 3 that's like, oh, this is helpful. This is it. Like bugs, any
Well,
pests, or anything
No,
else?
the foundation's working out really well. I didn't go really deep. I didn't go down to like the recommended frost line.
Yeah.
I went down maybe this far.
Yeah.
And it seems to be stable. I've had no cracking or anything.
Good.
And I do heat it in the winter, so it doesn't really freeze the
Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah. There's enough geothermal going on, I suppose, with all that. If
Yeah.
there's subsequent heat. Yeah.
And I filled it with, that much pea gravel.
Pea gravel.
And that stops any mice or rodents or anything burrowing under the foundation, coming up the
Yeah,
middle,
yeah.
because it just all collapses in on itself. So I've never had any problems with
That's good.
anything eating my trees or
Yeah.
that.
Very good.
And I always have spiders in there.
Yeah.
So any insects that do fly in when the door's open, the spiders take care of those. Yeah, it's worked out pretty well. I would say once I get that sunshade installed,
Yeah.
which is retractable, you just, on the hottest part of the afternoon, you just bring it across.
Yeah.
And when, take
Yeah.
it back
That's
in
right.
the evening.
And I could do the same thing in the PSGF, you know, a little retractable curtain or something for the
Yeah.
hottest parts. I could. So again, from December 15th to February 15th, that's my concern 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And if it's 20 degrees out in January in Minnesota and the sun's out in all its glory,
Yeah.
it's still going to warm up in there. Now the lower trees down below are staying a little bit colder, right?
Yes, the ones on the
but
floor.
there is, it's getting close to that 50 mark here, and it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
like what am I going to do? And they're going to get too warm, and are they going to break dormancy, or are they going to? I don't know. Are the roots going to be going like, what's going on here?
Yeah, so I would say greenhouses can be a really good tool to help you with your bonsai, but if you don't learn how to use them and how, like trees are different in a greenhouse, different watering schedules, like, and so I know if you just have no experience, you build a brand new greenhouse, put all your trees in there,
Yeah. It could be just
they'll
as
be
dangerous.
cooked the next day because
Right.
you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience. It's a
Yeah.
tool that you have to learn to use
Absolutely.
for sure. This one, I feel like I'm outdoors the entire year because I am basically.
Yeah.
In the middle of winter, it can be the worst snowstorm in the world, and I'm out there pruning the trees and the snow's swirling all around me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it feels like you're in the backyard. You never left.
Yeah,
it.
you're always able to get out of the house and
Yes.
and have a little bit of nature and be right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
it's really nice.
That's awesome. That's great.
And-
well, it's good to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And how has your experience been with your PSGF?
Really, really good. I mean,
So,
the
frame.
biggest challenge I had, I've talked about this on my videos before, is like I don't have a big enough solar panel and a big enough solar power station.
Right.
For the gray days.
Storage unit.
Yeah, because December and January, my first year of the PSGF, I was like ready by November 1st with it, right? December, January were the two grayest back-to-back winter months in almost Minnesota history.
Yes.
And usually November's our grayest month.
I see.
December, January's sunny. It's cold,
Yeah.
but a lot of high pressure systems and cold polar vortexes, but the sun's out.
Yes.
So I had two. So
I find that's
needed
changing.
some backup energy because the solar
Okay.
was, and so it wasn't enough because I didn't have enough to collect, but there was no
Yeah.
sun to collect for almost 2 straight months.
Yeah.
We would have like 5 or 6 out of 7 days cloudy,
Okay.
almost the whole month.
Yeah.
So that was one thing
Yes.
that I learned real quick. So more power.
More power.
For that, more sun, maybe a bigger. And I have a 200-watt solar panel. I could bump it up to 400, and that would help with the solar panel. But then the power station, that's the big battery and what's holding all that, I probably need twice the size to just make sure.
Maybe nuclear.
There you go. We need the nuclear power. There you go.
I see. So yeah, to run fans and heaters.
Yeah, because
and all
even
that.
fans at 40 watts, you know, my 40-watt fan can last a couple of days if it was 24/7. But it's
Yeah.
not running 24/7. My fans kick off based on when I tell it to, based on temperature, humidity, and even the VPD, the vapor pressure differentiation, which I've learned about since I started this, right? And plants grow better when they're in this certain range of vapor pressure, right, with the humidity and moisture in the air.
Yeah.
If it's too wet, the stomatas or whatever at the bottom of the leaves and foliage close up.
Yes.
And if you have that too much, the trees are just not doing anything. But then if it's too dry, so you try to hit that zone, right?
Where
so I mean,
they're
I can
open and
so I can
breathing
maintain that
and-
all the time, right?
Yeah.
If it's all set up right and everything's working. So that's been fascinating to learn, and it's worked out really good so far.
In the summer, I tried to keep my greenhouse between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius. They
Yeah.
say that's optimum for plant growth, which is, what is that, 71 to maybe 86?
80 something, yeah.
Maybe somewhere
Yeah.
around there,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
If my
But-
greenhouse has been like 80 temperature and in the 80s humidity,
Yeah.
the VPD, that vapor pressure thing, which it's too high end for me to explain it in detail,
Yeah.
but that's right at that sweet spot, right? It's between 0.8 and 1, whatever it is, and it's like, okay, these plants must be loving life.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going for, right? And so the fans at 40 watts, they don't have to be on all the time.
No.
And so, you know, heat's the big thing, sometimes humidity, but heat is sometimes the big one, right? And then that fan will kick on. And so for the PSGF, that 8-inch tube that's taking all the warmth in the wintertime and in the summer and bringing it down. Like on days like we've had in the last couple of weeks with 90s and it feels like 100 outside,
Yeah.
I got 72-degree air
That's
coming
nice.
out of the ground and just dispersing it in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
And then that brings that down. Now, on a real hot day, 4 or 5 days in a row, that's going to drain my battery power as well because it's going to be running all the time. But it works,
Yeah.
and it's bringing the temp down. And then the other solar fan like you have kicks off too. And then the other fan that kicks off at a certain temperature that just brings the hot air out. All of that combined. And so 40 watts is not much power,
No.
but if you don't have enough of a battery pack and a solar panel to recharge, or you have 2 weeks of grayness,
Yeah.
that's where I can't be off grid. And then the plug-in from home kicks in and I'm fine for now.
Maybe wind power.
And maybe wind later on, yeah. So maybe at Bonsai
On your
Acres,
property, yeah.
Bonsai Acres, I'll have solar and maybe wind as well.
Well, I find most of the independent homes that are successful, they don't rely on one
One or the
single
other.
source like solar power. They have
Yeah.
wind, they have solar power,
Yeah. Maybe even hydro.
wave power
Who
if they're near
knows?
the coast.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
yeah, it takes a lot of combined systems to
Yeah.
make it work if you want to go off grid and automatic, and
Mm-hmm.
which is it's a tough thing to do. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why very few people are successful.
Yeah. And so working in my PSGF, of course, we talked about when the video is on, it's harder for its room. You know, everything you build, if you build it a couple of feet bigger, you're probably going to be happier in their end. But you know, if you're trying to save money and you got a budget to stick with, that's hard to do. So I think the ergonomic layout of the greenhouse is fine.
Yeah.
Always looking for more space, of course. But I would say this to anybody who's building a plant room in their basement, fixing it up as a plant room when you like have in your house there. If you're building a cold frame in your garage, if you're building a greenhouse, I would say the number one thing that you have to really consider is the ergonomics of it. Like, are you going to be able to function in there? And
Right.
what I mean by that is, okay, is it comfortable for you? Right, but can you reach every plant
Yes.
easily? If
Yeah.
you can't reach a plant in the corner or up high on a shelf and it's ergonomically just challenging, you're going to skip that tree one day, or you got to have easy access, or I don't think it's going to work.
Yes. Yeah. Or if scale starts developing on one and you can't reach it, it gets out of hand before you actually do anything. It's-
Right. Yeah. And
Great.
they're all over today.
I know they're coming out at
Yeah, they're
night.
coming out. We're good. So
Yeah.
it's been a great experience.
Well, that's one thing I like about this greenhouse too, is I kind of set that back wall up as a filming studio.
Right.
And I mean, as a YouTuber, you keep that in mind that
Yep.
everything has a dual purpose. It's
Yeah.
functional for your trees, and you've got to record it. So,
Exactly.
and it's worked out well. Yeah, it's worked out well. I'm
Yeah.
always happy. I can use natural lighting all winter long.
All winter long. That's
and
right.
It's the best lighting, I think. It's
when it's gray and you can, people who are into photography, when
Yes.
it's a gray day and you have neutral density,
it's the best.
and things are beautiful, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, did a film studio come in here and get this one shot?
And then sometimes you can pump the saturation up just a
To-
bit.
totally.
and-
But then when
and
the
it
sun's
looks-
out, sometimes it's all the shadows, and it's like, oh, it's such a challenge.
Yes,
but, yeah,
it's very hard.
it's challenging. Yeah, greenhouse, if you can do it, what a thing to up your game in bonsai.
Yeah, and my poly house, I mean, I built that for under $500.
And it served you well.
And a lot of that is just the plastic covering cost money, and
Yeah.
the steel benches and that.
Yep.
But, it's done on a budget, and it's not pretty, but it works.
Yeah.
So I've seen some people build structures against their house, just simple wood framing and
Yeah.
cover it with plastic, and yeah, it could save your trees from frost. And
Yeah, for sure.
and I had a person from India recently ask me about tools, if I could send him tools, and I said, don't let tools stop you doing bonsai. I said, you can use any pair of scissors, you can use a knife. All you need is a knife, and you can do bonsai.
Yeah.
Or you can even break the branches with your hands if you want.
They recommend that with boxwoods.
Yeah.
If you get a clean cut with any,
looks weird,
It
yeah.
looks weird. Doesn't heal great. But
Yeah.
I know Rodney Clemens. He
Just
talks about
break it.
You can maybe take your tool and get a little start, but then break it off. It's going to look much more natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But any knife, I mean,
Yeah.
scissors and a knife, you've got pretty well every tool you need in bonsai. If
Yeah.
it's got a curved blade, you can make concave cuts.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, they see all the fancy tools and the pots, and they say, oh,
A little overwhelmed.
I can't do bonsai, but I mean, it costs nothing to plant a seed in a pot and grow it.
Absolutely.
other than water. And you can use any tools to shape it and create it.
And so many people, including Bill Valvanis on my trip, of all the Yamadori people are taking out of people's yards of their own yard and just trying this tree or that shrub.
Yeah.
And he just pulled out a barberry recently that was really old, really super gnarly bark, did an air layer on there, had 3 or 4 trees now that look really cool with some great bark. And some of these barberries have fantastic color to their foliage.
Yeah.
And so just what a great specimen. It doesn't have to be a Japanese white pine.
No.
It doesn't have to be the
Well, that's
collected
another thing.
California juniper.
A lot of people from hot, arid countries or countries with, very extreme climates, they ask me, what tree can I grow here? And I say, just look around. Use your native trees.
Find something. Yeah.
If they survive in your area, your neighborhood,
Yeah.
they're going to survive as a bonsai.
Yeah.
But they always want the Japanese maples. And I
It's the
said,
desire, right?
or larches.
Yep.
And I say, no, sorry, you can't do it.
And you're going to work harder and not be as successful.
And I had one person say, well, how come you can grow tropical
Tropicals
trees
in
in
Canada.
Canada and I can't grow? And I said, well, you can, but you would have to build a refrigerated room
keep it cool. Yeah.
that would slowly cool it
That'd
down,
be so much harder.
keep it dormant in winter. And I said,
Have fun with
I'm
that.
heating the house for winter anyway, so
Yeah.
to heat one extra room doesn't cost a whole lot.
Yeah.
But if you're going to refrigerate one room, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
It's going to cost
so
a lot of money.
it can be done, and there are people, wealthy people in very hot climates who do have air-conditioned greenhouses, and, and they grow any species of tree they want,
For sure.
or plants.
If you have
orchids,
a controlled room in any level, hot or cold, and you can do that, well, there you go. You could probably make anything work.
And the other trouble is if the power goes off.
Oh yeah.
And it's a trouble even here. Like if the power went out, I have a backup plan, and that's I would have to move all the trees from my plant room into the basement. Which
Yes.
would stay
your
above
natural
freezing.
cold frame. Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't go below freezing.
Yeah.
The trees wouldn't be happy down there, but
they'd
for
survive.
a few days they would survive.
Yeah.
But if the power went off, I've had this happen actually. The power goes off in the early evening, and I get up in the morning and there's no power, and I go into the plant room and it's cooled down from like the normal temperature. Pretty cold,
Yeah.
but not freezing.
Yeah.
But if you left it any longer than
Yeah.
maybe 12 hours,
Then
your plants would die.
And especially if it went out in the middle of the day and then was out overnight where
Yeah.
it really drops down, then you have to analyze every situation uniquely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to have some kind of a backup plan because the power will go out someday.
It will.
And
it will.
I mean, in Quebec, they had an ice storm the one time, and some people were out of power for 3 weeks. So
That's when the PSGF really has to have
exactly,
battery power.
it's got to perform.
That's right. Got to
Yeah.
perform.
So, if you have serious bonsai that you've invested a lot of time and effort into, you've got to have backup plans, and
Yeah.
you've got to invest time and effort into keeping them happy. And the older your trees get, the more you should worry about them because old trees are hard to get. They're
Oh, they are.
I would say like a beginner in bonsai, if they get 100 trees, in 10 years, I bet you they would have 20 trees of the original 100 alive. There's just attrition through
Yeah.
learning,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes
Right,
it's
absolutely.
weather,
Yeah.
freaky weather. I've had people have trees fall on their benches and smash all their trees.
Right. Squirrels knock them over.
Squirrels,
and,
hurricanes.
There you go.
So old trees are valuable. There's a lot of work put into them and a lot of luck. Yeah, they're a rare thing.
Yeah.
So you really got to take care of them.
Anything that stands out since I saw you last about bonsai in your journey?
Even though I'm not supposed to get any more tropical trees, I tend to continue getting more.
You always say you're not going to get any more.
I know, and I shouldn't, but I do. A lot of different species. I'm still trying different species, and I really enjoy that part of bonsai is that, first of all, you learn all about the tree and its natural climate, and then you try and grow it, and it's almost like a challenge.
Sure.
And it's kind of cool having all these different trees that you would normally never see. Like some of them are rare trees.
Yeah.
But to actually have it in front of you growing and
Yeah,
flowering
in
and
your little microclimate.
Yeah.
And have success.
it's quite thrilling. I've always got my eyes open for new species that I don't have, and there's a lot of I don't have, and you'll never have every tree in the world. But
Yeah, right.
I think that's how you learn too. Like I told someone, if you've never grown a Japanese black pine in your life, you can't really talk to people about growing Japanese black pines unless you have first-hand experience.
Exactly.
I feel, yeah, I like growing all these different species. So if someone does ask me a question about
Be able to talk from
lemon
experience.
trees or
Yeah.
that,
Like
I
earlier
can,
today.
yeah, I can answer them with experience.
Yeah.
And I'm not just repeating something I've read in a book or someone's told me. It's
Yeah.
firsthand. You know, you join a club and you get the same thing. You get people who have grown species and they just know what
They're
to
right
do.
there to tell you what
They've
to do,
been
yeah.
working on this same species for 20 years and
And
they've-
someone
they've
in your
seen it all.
climate, kind of. I
Yeah.
mean, someone in your neck of the woods. And
And
yeah.
they've seen every problem. You
Right.
know, cold, frost,
Yeah.
insects, how much you can prune the roots,
You're
how
right.
much you can prune the top, and they'll
Right.
tell you, they'll
Right.
volunteer all this information to you, and it's invaluable.
Don't do this because of that. And yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
don't do this after doing this. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of ways you can learn in bonsai, and I find there's some people that are very open-minded, and they just suck in knowledge from everywhere.
Yeah.
They listen to everyone and okay, that makes sense. I'm going to try this. And then there's other people, well, this is the way I was taught to do it,
Yeah.
and this is the way I'm going to do it till
Yep.
the day I die.
Yep. There's some of those.
And stubborn and
yeah.
I guess it's just human nature. There's different
For sure.
personalities.
Talk a little bit about the YouTube community. I mean, you're one of the kings, of course, in the bonsai YouTube world. But there's so many out there, and even though you run an amazing channel and have been doing this for a long time, you watch a lot of videos too. And,
I do.
And tell me about YouTube and bonsai.
Okay,
What's your thoughts and how's it going for you?
I encourage people, if you start a bonsai YouTube channel, to be honest and just be yourself.
Yeah.
I find so many people are fairly new to the hobby, and then they come across as this is what you do then, and this an expert.
Yeah.
And they may be good, but maybe not an expert.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not an expert. I'm learning all the time, but I don't title my videos "This is how you do this"
Yeah,
or
right.
everything you need to know about this species of bonsai or something. I try and just kind of show what I'm doing to my trees, whether it's good or bad. That's one thing I would recommend people do, is just be yourself and take the audience along your adventure in bonsai.
Sure.
I think everyone has something they can contribute to bonsai. I think there's a Chinese proverb that everyone is your teacher.
Yeah.
And I believe that. And even like someone new into bonsai might have a fresh perspective of bonsai that I haven't thought of. So you can learn something from everyone.
Yeah.
There's also the other type of channel that they view it as, I'm creating a channel to create income.
Yeah.
And if a channel gets too commercialized, it turns me off.
Yeah.
There's a balance. But I think overall, I think most of us who make YouTube videos are aware of everyone else's channels, and there's channels you watch because you like the person and what they're doing. There's other channels that isn't your cup of tea. Maybe it's a different country and it's not really that relevant to you.
And the community to me has just been phenomenal. And so this road trip, meeting so many people that just watch, that don't necessarily have channels, but of course some people do. Had an absolute blast in Steve's backyard, and coming here again and seeing Jay and Vince and the gang, and meeting some people. It's so great to have more of those networks to do what? To just continue to talk about bonsai.
Well, I think most of my friends, I would say 90% of my friends in my life are from bonsai. But most people I hang out with are bonsai people, which is, I don't know, that's a good thing or bad,
Well,
but
it's a niche that
not
we
a bad
found, right?
place. Yeah.
And it seems like everything else is really doesn't matter. We can just talk about bonsai, and we all kind of get it. And and it's been good people.
Yes.
I mean, so
Very good people.
Well, again, I can't thank you enough for all you do, and I just
And all you do, Dave?
well,
Yeah.
I appreciate. I'm still watching, everybody's videos and getting those bits and pieces. What I can take, what I maybe won't take, but it's so fun to watch, and this community
Yeah.
is so amazing, and so I appreciate. Thank you so much for letting me hang today again.
It was
It's-
great having you down.
It's awesome.
2
2 years from
years,
now?
yeah.
We'll go in 26?
Yeah,
All
sounds
right, we'll
good.
plan on that. So how do we close this thing
And
again?
Do you think you'll go to the U.S. National Show one of these years, or is it?
I would
just
like
hard?
to. I would like to go in 25.
How far away is Rochester from you?
Rochester. Well, I'd fly in, so I
Okay,
don't think I
right.
would drive. I would. I have enough. I'm getting enough points now
Okay.
that I think I'd have a free flight. I'd probably by 25. I just would fly in
Okay.
and see some friends there, and then yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
so
would probably
I think
do.
Scott Winard's coming down
Oh, is he?
again, and we'll head to the show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would really seriously like to hit 20 to 25 coming
Yeah,
up here. That would be
okay.
fun. And whether Bill Valvanis continues after that or not, I'd like to go there when he's running one and be there. And some people from the club, one of our guys, Tim Mathwig, had a tree in it last year.
Okay,
So that was
yeah.
really nice to have MBS represented at the National. So that's
Nice.
pretty cool. So I hope so.
Yeah, and you'll
Yeah.
meet a lot of really cool people there.
Yeah. I'd like to get the Pacific Expo that they just started
Oh,
too. And
so would I.
That would be another goal, and that's a whole other part of the world. But
I would have to fly to that one
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Well, maybe we'll catch up one of these days out
Maybe.
there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, help me close this thing out, Mr. Bonsai Zone guy. How do we do this
All
again?
right, we say take care of you,
Take care of your bonsai.
and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, we'll see everybody.
Bye.